Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back to Pardon Me While I Elevate. This week, we're going to be talking about your journey to finding entrepreneurship, sort of finding your way to entrepreneurship. So last week, I talked about sort of like interpersonal skills. Actually, the last 2 weeks, I've kind of been talking about like who to hire and, what could be dangers of that and sort of how corporate doesn't really cater to those kinds of things and how important they are, right? So this week I'm going to shift a little bit more of my focus towards like the actual like business side of it, but still very personal within the individual. So I've been thinking a lot about what brings someone to entrepreneurship, why somebody would go from a corporate job or like working for, a job that they don't really like, and then eventually ending up in a place where they're starting their own thing or they're working for somebody that's starting their own thing, because not everybody wants to be a leader, not everybody wants to own their own thing. And I totally accept that. And that is also a really important step in this process. But just simply changing it to a space where you are, appreciated more at work, where you have more flexibility, where people are not so like, you know, on a day-to-day basis, or like the deadlines aren't so crazy. All of the kind of things that I've been talking about not working for the majority of people, so we don't want that. Nobody wants that. So yeah, I've been thinking a lot about even what brought me to entrepreneurship, right? Um, Obviously, other than like the personality test and the career test and all the things that I took to sort of paint me the picture, but it got me thinking a lot about just, the dreamers. I know we've talked about dreamers too, but there are, I think, three types of people career wise in the world, right? One of them is just like born in the driver's seat. They can take on any task, they can do the thing, they can take the risk, they're confident, and they're just sort of like ready to rock with whatever they want to do. And then there's somebody that, you know, they don't really believe in themselves that much. It sort of feels like too big of a risk. They would rather work for somebody else and sort of stay in this safe place where they know they're making a paycheck. They know that they can work hard. They know that, things are going to kind of just keep going for them. And then there's the third one where you take your dream and you let it brew and, you let it percolate. And when you're ready to go for it and all the things align, then you go for it, right? So it doesn't, like regardless of where you fall in that, just be brave. Just be brave to do the thing that works for you. Be brave to stay at a job if you like it, right? Be brave enough to get in the driver's seat if you're not already there and you want to be there. Just be brave enough. That's really just the message across the board, is that a lot of the times I think that, and I've talked to so many people that like have these big dreams. They have been thinking about it and they really want to get there. But it's kind of stayed a dream, and that's sort of sad, like you don't want to wake up when you're 60 years old and realize that you kind of never went for that dream and it never was something that you got to experience firsthand. I think one of the biggest challenges that like Americans face every single day is that we are exposed to so many things, like the internet and our neighbors, and especially if you live in a city, like all the people around you, all the different places you could live, places you could work, places you could even eat, there's so many ranges of like wealth or money that you can picture all these different ways of living or all these different jobs or opportunities. And it kind of diverts us from our alignment. Every human being on this earth has a purpose. We all have something that we're here, that we're really good at, we can naturally just like do. But I think that because there's been so much media and so many things thrown our way, we kind of lose track. We get pushed off the track sometimes, and we lose our alignment with what we're supposed to be doing. And I've been thinking a lot about the journey too, right? We all have our journeys, and you know, I've been thinking that it's not really about getting up and trying to kick the same door in 12 times, right? It's not about trying the same thing over and over until you get it to work. It's more about the journey being finding the thing that feels natural. I think that sometimes people find themselves in a space where it's been 10 years of trying to do something, or like doing it but like not being where you want to be. Like me in fashion, like I was doing it, I was there, I had the roles, but it didn't feel easy. It didn't feel like I was aligned with it. It was just sort of like sort of kept going. And even though it was one of those goals that I had as a kid that I really wanted to do and felt good to me, it just like it didn't fit. um I enjoyed it until I didn't, right? But this journey of finding your alignment isn't, again, it's not kicking the same door 12 times until it opens. It's finding the door that you actually can open. It's not even really about kicking the door. The hard work is not like getting in the door. To me, it's about finding what is something that comes naturally. I don't want to use the word easy. It's not going to come easy because there's going to be a lot of hard work still. There's going to be plenty of times where, you're working really late or you're working on the weekends, or especially in entrepreneurship, right? But when it feels right, when you feel aligned with it, things work out easier and things become just sort of more of like a glide instead of you're fighting every single step of it. And I think that sometimes in corporate, a lot of people find that like they get one achievement and they really like it because they never get achievements or they never get recognized for what they do. And they want to smell the flowers. They want to finally, for 1 second, just understand what it feels like to like achieve. Um, but it's fleeting. It goes so fast, and then you're right back into a place where the pressure's on and you have to excel and you have to go above and beyond. And you get 5 seconds to smell the flowers until you have to go be sort of abused again, right? So to me, that's not alignment. To me, that's not a place where you're supposed to be. In those spaces of, getting bullied or getting treated in a way that does not work for you and does not feel good is not alignment. Um, and it's a shame that our country has been set up so much around this whole corporate idea. It almost feels like you can't even make money outside of corporate, or especially not to the levels that you can inside of corporate. So a lot of people's dreams like stop there because they're like, oh, well, I make $150 to $250 in corporate. Like, how am I going to make that outside of corporate? So they just stay. I have a family to support, or I want to live in this area, or I want a nice lifestyle, or whatever it is. And that keeps somebody in, the hold of corporate, and you don't try and venture out and see like what else you can do. But you'll be just like astonished with the things that you can do. I was talking to this guy the other day, just randomly on the street. He owns a business up the road from me, and he was talking about how before he owned that business, he had a doggy daycare, right? And he was a certified dog trainer, so he did a little bit of work with the dogs. He told me that he was making almost $60,000 a month doing this, being good at it, having trusted clients, having people that bring their dogs back and have good things to say. Hi, you know what I mean though? Like, I don't want to do that, obviously, but it's just one of those examples that you're never told about. One of those examples where it's like, corporate, yeah, no, I could make more money outside of corporate with my own good idea in alignment than I could in corporate, out of alignment. And it's going to feel better. It's going to feel like you want to wake up every day. You want to go to that job. You want to do that thing. There's just a lot of things that nobody talks about, nobody tells you about, because it fits the narrative that everybody should work in corporate. You should go to college and you should do this and you should work in corporate. I'm not saying I'm not advocating for college. I do advocate for college, but that's not the only option, right? It's not the only option. And we have to stop thinking to ourselves that if we don't achieve these things or follow those paths, that somehow we are going to be left behind. It's up to us where we sit. It's up to us if we're left behind or if we succeed. Okay. No one's going to come save us. No one's going to come pick up the pieces for us. We have to do that. But if we're brave enough to do that, there's literally no telling what you can do. So now I'm going to go back to this whole concept of the journey, right? So I was talking to my friend earlier today, and I was talking to him. I'll tell you about the business that I have started after this, but I was talking to him about the business I started, and he was like, "Oh my God, teach me your ways, teach me your hustle." And obviously he was just being silly. He was, joking, but he was also not. And he's like, intrigued by like how much money I've made and in such a small amount of time, and like how it's such a simple idea. And I said to him, it's not about emulating somebody else's idea and trying to get the same amount of money, right? He knew that. I was just kind of being too literal. But I was saying to him, like, the only reason that you don't have your thing that you can pop up in 2 days and do the thing and make money is because you just need to find your alignment. What is the right quick thing that you're already good at that you can go make money in? What is a little quick way that you can find entrepreneurship? Okay. Then he came to me with this really funny idea. He was joking, and he was like, what if I had like a place that you go to where there's like a dummy, and someone could like send you a photo of somebody that they like really want to punch. And before they get there, you have the dummy loaded up with the picture on the face. Maybe it's like printed onto like a, like a mask or something. And the person can go and get stress relief on that. That is like such a good idea. There's no real violence out in the world. There's no like, there's stress relief. There's all this stuff. It's like, those like smash rooms where you go with like a bat or a golf club or something and just smash things. It's similar to that. It's like everybody has a good idea. Everybody has something that they could do if they wanted to go and do it. But again, it takes a lot of bravery to follow an idea through. It takes a lot of bravery to like try something new. These things that like when you say them with your words, they don't seem that crazy. Like, oh, brave enough to just go do the thing. But it does. It takes a lot of bravery, and like we should be sensitive to that. We should be sensitive to the fact that it takes oomph, it takes confidence, it takes dedication, it takes like endurance, even like to continue to go and continue to do it. There's also this risk where like, what if it doesn't do really well right away, and now you feel like you did the wrong thing or you made a mistake, or there's a little level of like not believing in yourself because it doesn't do well right away. Because like in today's world, there's this whole concept where like you could have a really good idea, but without any marketing, without any like, come see me, come see what I'm doing. What is a good idea if nobody knows about it, right? So again, there's risk, there's totally risk, but when you're in alignment, these things just like work out. It's hard to even explain. But when you are in it and you feel it, you just gel. Everything just gels and like becomes something that you can't believe you haven't been doing the whole time, right? So over the last like year and a half, I've been developing the business that I've been talking about here in Active Brand Therapy. I've been working on a website. I've been doing all this stuff. Then also I've been doing this dog nutrition thing. I've been learning about dog nutrition for the past like 5 years. And, I have a little certification in it, and I've been teaching classes for people that don't really know what to do because it's hard to find information online. It's very contradictory online. It's just like not a great place to learn how to cook for your dog, not straightforward, as it shouldn't be, because it's just more complicated than that. And then I've also been painting like dog portraits. I have another painting that I have to do this week as well. So for me, what works for me is to have a lot of things going on at the same time. I think that especially after corporate, one of the things that pushes me to achieve is this pressure of a deadline, this pressure of having a lot on my plate. An idle mind, they always talk about how like it's like poison, right? If I only have one thing going on, I'm not as productive as if I have like 5 things going on. And that doesn't work for everybody. And I'm not trying to push what's right for me on anyone, right? Because it can be chaotic. It can be very chaotic. But So here's my story, the entrepreneurship story to this next thing that I was telling my friend about that I was doing. So when I was painting the dog portraits, I painted 6 of them for my mom. And I was so excited to get them to her that every single time I finished one, I went right down to the UPS store and shipped it like same day. So I was shipping one like every 4 to 5 days. I was really excited for her to receive them. I was just like, it was momentum, right? And it was just one of those things that I just woke up one day and decided to try. There was no like, in 2 months, I'm going to try that. It just naturally, it was an idea that my mom gave me during Christmas, and I just like found it when I found it. Um, anyway, so I was shipping them a lot with the UPS store. And because I have dogs and I walk by the UPS store all the time, the employees there know me. They know me very well. They know my dogs. We talk a lot. They're very, very nice people. And I said to one of the workers one day, the one that we're probably closest to, I said, I want to do something nice for you. You've been so sweet and packaging up my things and giving me little discounts on the packaging materials. Like, what? I'm a baker. Like, what do you like? What's your favorite cookie? And the guy was like, oh, wow, like my favorite cookie, I'm a simple guy, just like chocolate chip cookies. Those are my favorite. Now, my mom and I have been baking since I was like 6 years old. My mom is a fantastic elite baker. And she and I have baked together for a really long time. Once I left her house, obviously we baked less, but like, during holidays and all these times, like she made the entire dessert table at my brother's wedding. I put the whole entire wedding cake together for her. Like we do this, right? But when you're in New York City, baking is a chore. There's not a lot of counter space. It's just like kind of different. So I bake here and there, but the main thing is that I know how. So I decided to make him some chocolate chip cookies because he was so nice and so generous. And I saw him later on that day when I was taking my dogs for their night walk, and he caught me and he was like, Lucy, these cookies are amazing. And, like I said, my mom and I have been perfecting this recipe for a long time, but it wasn't one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, they're the best cookie in the universe. Like we worked really hard on the recipe and the technique and all of the things to get the cookies the way we want them, but we've never sold them. We've always gotten compliments on them for sure, but we've just never been in a venue to sell them. So we've put them at birthday parties, at events, at holidays, things like that, but never sold them. So I then maybe a week later, I cooked them a batch again because the owner of the UPS store said she didn't get to try them and she really wanted to try them. So then she tries them and she came up to me and she said to me, you need to sell these cookies. You would make a killing. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, that's so much. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would do well. It wasn't that I didn't have the confidence. It was just like, do I want to do that? So it got to a point a couple months later where I was like, you know what? Why don't I just try it? Why don't I just see how it goes? Everything aligned. The woman at the UPS store was like, yes, you can absolutely sell in front of our business, which makes it so I don't need a permit. Then my neighbor down the street, he has like a catering business. He let me borrow this table. So before I knew it, my mom got me this basket that I could put all the cookies in so I could go and sell them. I got these little baggies for each cookie. I got like labels. I did the whole thing. It all was so seamless. The things came on time. I got all the ingredients from Costco. We had big supplies of everything I needed. I looked very professional. I went out, and it didn't take that much effort. I went out there and I sold. And within 5 hours, I had sold more than half of my cookies day one. Day two, I didn't get to sell them for that long. Day three, these days weren't back to back, but just the third day that I sold every single cookie I had out there. And then I made a special flavor that was in addition to the 2 flavors that I had originally made. Anyway, so it just became a thing where within 5 days of selling, I was making more than I was making in any of my other businesses because it was all very close together, the days of selling. And I was doing so well. It was so simple. I was basically working from home. My dogs could chill with me at the table. I was right there. I was very close to where I was selling the cookies. I could pop upstairs and go to the bathroom if I needed to. I could get water. Like some of those days were super, super hot. Anyway, the whole reason that I tell you this story is because the second that I decided I'm going to go for it, the UPS woman said, yes, let's do it. The table was available. The chair was available. My mom got me the basket. Everything just aligned within 2 seconds. And it was like, you're supposed to do this. If this is going to be hard, you wouldn't have it like had it work out like this. These little details would have been messed up. Something would have gotten in your way. Something would have discouraged you. But nothing did. Nothing did. One of the days that I sold the cookies, it was 94 degrees outside and I was fine. I was sitting there fine. Everything was fine. So again, entrepreneurship doesn't have to be like you're starting a Morgan Chase, bank. It can just be this little seed that you plant and you just see where it goes. If I had a full-time job that I couldn't dedicate time to, I could try this on the weekends, one day of a weekend, and see how it went. You just have to have the bravery enough to put yourself out there and to see how something goes. And if it fails or if it doesn't feel good, you never have to do it again, right? The supplies that I bought to do this were so cheap, so cheap. It was like, and then I did the calculations for all of the supplies, right? Per cookie, how much it would cost me with all the supplies that I got to make that cookie. It was 40 cents a cookie, okay? And I'm able to charge $4 for my cookie because it's not just supplies. You're also thinking about time to bake and, the time to sit out there. There's also other things to factor in, but your profit margin is amazing, right? So it's finding your thing. It's putting yourself in a place where you can get to alignment. Like I said, it took me all this time and all these years to find some alignment. It really did. I'm not going to lie. I was so dedicated to like moving up the corporate ladder and doing better in corporate and getting the next role and like I wasn't even focused on my alignment. I was focused on achievement. And sometimes achievement and alignment are the same. But my achievement didn't even factor in alignment. And then when I got laid off, a couple of years ago, and it forced me to really look in the mirror and think about what was next for me and what felt right for me, alignment was all I had. When you're laid off and you have nothing to achieve in because there's no job that you immediately have, you're forced into a space where like you have to find your alignment. And like I said, sometimes the jobs we have take us from alignment because they're really like stressful or they're tiring. Some people have to stand up all day. So by the time they get home, they don't want to like think anymore. They just want to rest. These things are designed to pull us from what we are supposed to be doing. And then you meet this one person, like the guy that did the doggy daycare, and it reminds you like, oh my God, we are like sucked into this tornado or like this, yeah, of just like keep going and do the corporate thing and don't complain and like you have a great paycheck or whatever the hell it is. And we don't stop to think to ourselves like, holy shit, I'm putting in all this work and killing myself for someone else, for someone that I don't even know, for someone that's so far up the friggin' ladder that we don't even see them. Or they're like not even a nice person. Or they're like terrible, like it could go so far that way. And our hard work is really all we have to our name. That's like our code, right? So we wake up one day and we realize that we don't want to be giving that much work to somebody that doesn't deserve it, and we're breaking these norms of thinking to ourselves that this is the only way. And there are a lot of people before me and a lot of people before you that thought that was the only way. A lot of parents pushed college for the sole reason that that's how you get a good job, right? And there's truth to that. But what does good mean? High paying? That's what it means. It doesn't mean a job that you're going to love. It doesn't mean a job that's going to take care of you and support you. It might mean that. Doesn't guarantee that, right? I have like so many friends that like got laid off during the pandemic or got laid off in the last year. So many changes in our country, so many changes in the world, and the thing that they thought was a safe bet that they were going to bet on for years to come left just like that. I had a friend that was actually one of my bosses at an old company I used to work for, and she was killing it in corporate. She was, she had all these really creative jobs at these big up and coming companies, or like companies that we all know about, fashion companies or tech companies, but like the creative roles within them. And she got laid off. I could not believe my eyes. She's been living all over the world, doing all kinds of cool stuff, having big girl jobs, and she just got laid off. I could not believe it. And again, it's like things that are in our alignment could be in our alignment for a short time. It's not to say that because you woke up one day and it doesn't feel right, that it never was right. It just means that you're taking the signs, you're listening to your body, you're listening to what makes sense for you, and you're following that. You're not allowing, this track to just run your life. And so if you are one of those people that wants to find your way to entrepreneurship, but there's so much risk, or there's scariness, or there's financial sort of constraints, or maybe you don't have the right amount of confidence, people like me can help you out. People like me can not only just be like a little inspiration just by telling my story to you about how it worked out, but also showing you that it's just like not as radical as it might feel, or as people might make it feel. There's so many avenues and so many things you can do, especially in today's world. There's probably more jobs today that you can like think of, not available on the job market maybe, but like that you can think of today than there maybe ever has been. Like my generation, like I remember there was a kid on YouTube when this all first started getting big. He was like 10 years old and he was making millions of dollars a year reviewing toys on YouTube. You know what I mean? So like, doesn't feel like a job, does it? But it sure is, right? At 10 years old, his parents helped him find his avenue, his alignment. And, I get very protective of my dreamers, the ones that have this good idea or that have this vision for their life, and they're a little too scared to jump for it. And I get it. I totally get it. I was caught in that loop for real. And sometimes when you don't get laid off, or you don't get let go, or like whatever, you don't have that fear in you to be like, oh my God, like what is really next? I don't know. And sometimes hitting the bottom is like kind of nice, because at least you probably won't go lower than that, and you can propel off of it to the next thing. And the next thing might be a search. For the last year, I've been searching. I've been searching and searching and searching and searching. And sometimes you don't come up with a ton of results. Again, the journey of alignment. It is still a journey, and it is still, hard and can be emotional, but it's not, again, trying to kick the same door 12 times. I'm not trying to get back into fashion. I'm not trying to make something work that's just not working. I'm trying to go for things that make sense for me, that make me feel good, that make me feel accomplished. Do you know how it feels to do something that you feel is just like simple, and making good money off doing it right away, literally day one? I thought I was going to sit out there and make like 30 bucks. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. So I wanted to talk to my entrepreneurs and my soon to be entrepreneurs in this episode, and also the people that want to work for entrepreneurs, because we all need each other, and we all need to collectively come together and realize that this is a group project, baby, and this is not going to be able to be done without each other. We can't just have big bosses. We can't just have workers. We can't just have anything. Where it's a team effort, and we all have to realize that we don't have to accept the norms that society has set for us. We don't have to accept a corporate job. We don't have to accept these things. When you go to work every day and you hate your job and you don't perform that well because you've already like established that they don't value you how you want to be valued, so you're not going to give them your best effort. You also are realizing in that moment, or maybe you're not, that you're not living to your fullest potential. You are actually having your brain take a break. It's not working that hard. It's not being challenged. You are not being challenged. So your growth is going to be less. Like if you have a job that's like, I'm not picking on anybody, just before I say this, like if you have a job that's like cashier somewhere, and that's the only thing you do. Once you learn how to do the technical skill of being a cashier, the only thing that you could really build upon would be like making friends with the customers or learning how to do that. But if you don't want to do that, there's nothing that's going to challenge you every single day. So you're giving 10, maybe 8 hours a day to a job where you are not being challenged. That is just not what human beings are here to do. We are not here to have easy jobs and just get through it and just get the paycheck and be miserable at work or be mean at work. That's just like not what we're here for. And if we spend all this time doing that, by the time you're like 50 or 45, you're going to realize that you developed no skills. You learned how to do nothing new. You were not challenged. And now you've gotten so used to not being challenged, you don't want to go find a challenge. You don't want to go be bold. You don't want to be brave. You just want to stay in this place where things are easy. You can do it. You know how. No one's going to bother you. So now if you think about it, if you're not challenged in your work life, you're not going to want to grow in the other places because it feels hard, right? So you go home, maybe you bring that misery home with you. You're not being better at home. You're not doing better for yourself. You're not improving. Challenge is so good. Challenge is the only thing we have to propel ourselves forward, to advocate for ourselves, to keep being and doing better across the board. If you work for a job that you don't like or that doesn't challenge you or is easy, you are setting yourself up to never change. And that is just not what we're here for. I don't think that's what anybody really wants. Sometimes change is hard. Hard is not bad. Hard is everything. We have to have things that are hard in this life. And hard does not mean standing on your feet for 8 hours a day. Hard does not mean your job is physically draining and now you have to come home and sit. Hard is mentally stimulating. It's almost like if you think about a dog that has to sit home all day long, waiting for you to come home from work. You get home from work, you don't even take it on a walk. You let it outside to pee, it comes right back inside, and then you sit around because you're tired from your work day. Your dog has done nothing all day at all, nothing. No stimulation, no seeing birds, no sniffing around, no meeting other people or other dogs. They don't go on a walk. What type of existence is that? We are all animals. We are all the same. And we all need stimulation in order to have joy, to find happiness on a constant basis, which is a choice, right? And to just feel fulfilled. An unfulfilled human being is a dangerous place because there's very, very quick routes to things like depression, anger, anxiety, stress. We have to take it upon ourselves to stimulate ourselves. And one of the best ways to do that, and the easiest ways to do that, is to find a job or create a job where you are stimulated, you are challenged, things are hard. It will make you feel so capable and so able to achieve that your confidence goes through the roof. You're happy all the time or a lot of the time. You can take on other change. If something's not happy at home or if something's not happy somewhere else, you can feel encouraged to change that. It's sort of like it's a ripple effect, and it encourages change in other places. And when you start to achieve, you'll keep achieving. And I just want that for you. I want that for everybody. I want everybody to feel like they can have what they want and that it's not that far away, that it's not that hard. Again, hard things are good, but not that hard to the point where you can't get it or you can't have it. So that is the journey to entrepreneurship. It is not always, it's not straight, it's not linear, it's not right, but it's also not right. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to know that if we've had a dream and it makes sense, that we could go for it. And for those people that don't have their idea yet, that are still brewing, keep brewing and keep thinking about it. Don't let it sit in your mind for too long. Keep thinking about it in all the times that you have free, like when you wake up in the morning or on lunch break or when you get home, whatever. Just keep it going. Keep the thought process going. Keep the ideas flowing. And before you know it, you will land on your idea that is in your alignment, that you should go for, that makes the most sense for you. And you'll start to fly. You'll start to feel this achievement, and it will be contagious. And I really just love that for you. I know I can speak on these things because I've felt them. I've experienced them in more than one place. And it feels pretty damn good. I can't lie. Okay? I want that for you. I do. So I'm going to end it the same way I always do. If you guys ever want any help in these categories, my company is called Nectar Brand Therapy, and you can reach out to me on YouTube. You can reach out to me on TikTok. It's not the same title, but if you search Pardon Me While I Elevate, you will find me. And I would love to help you out. And as I sort of develop this brand more, I will have websites and all these other ways that you can reach out to me. But for now, I have what I have, and I love it here. And we're freaking on episode 12. This is so lit. But yeah, so until next week, I'll see you later.